We're still not. How are you? You okay? Are we online? Okay. Oh, okay. Shabbat shalom to you who came today online to see us, to worship with us for the Shabbat morning service, a special Shabbat today because it's a safeguarding Shabbat, so it's oriented towards the idea of safeguarding within our community. So I know that safeguarding is very much discussed, for example, in schools, but also in communities like KLS. So Sarah Alston will lead a session later on safeguarding instead of me boring you to death and putting you to sleep during a sermon. So Philip, you'll be very happy. So we're going to start our Shabbat morning service. We're going to take morning service number 1, which is on page 105. Please stand. Ma tovu, ma tovu, ma tovu alecha Yaakov, Mishnotecha Yisrael, Mishnotecha Yisrael, Vani berov razdecha, avo veitecha, אשתחווה אליך על קודשך ביראתך, אליך על קודשך ביראתך. אדוני אהבתי מעון ביתך ומקום משכן כבודך, ואני אשתחווה וארע אברך לפני אדוני עושי. ואני תפילתי לך אדוני את רצון אלוהים אלוהים ברוב חסדך, ענני באמת אישך באמת אישך. Please be seated. So I'd like to say Shabbat Shalom to Ajik, who is here today with us, and Maxine. Shabbat Shalom, and of course all the people I can't see you on my Facebook feed, so Shabbat Shalom to you. As we say the prayers of our ancestors, help us, O God, to remember their faith and devotion, their joy and suffering, and make us worthy of our heritage. May the tradition we have received live in us and pass from generations we shall never know, enriched by the truth we have found and the good we have done, so that we may fulfill our task on earth and receive our blessing. יהי רצון מלפניך, אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, שתרגילנו בתורתך ודבקנו במצוותיך, ואל תביאנו לא לידי חטא ולא לידי עבירה ועוון, ולא לידי ניסיון ולא לידי ביזיון, ואל תשלט בנו יצרך, והרחיקנו מאדמך ומחברה, ודבקנו ביצר הטוב מעשים טובים, ובחוף יצרנו להשתעבד לך, ותעננו היום ובכל יום, לכן ולחסד ולרחמים, בעיניך ובנכל רואינו, ותגמלנו חסדים טובים. ברוך אתה אדוני גומל חסדים טובים. שחר אבקשך צורי ומשכבי, ארור לפניך שחי וגמר לפני גדולתך אמות ובאל, כי עינך תראה כל מחשבות ליבי. מה זה אשר יוכל הלב והלשון לעשות, ומה כוח רוחי בתוך קרבי. הנה לך תיטב זמרת אנוש, על כן עודך בעוד תהיה נשמת אלוהי בי. Praise be the one at whose command the world came to be. We praise you, our God, sovereign of the universe, worshipped by your people, lauded and glorified by those who love and serve you. With songs of praise we extol you and proclaim your sovereignty, sole source of the life of all worlds. We praise you, sovereign God, to whom all praise is due. אשרי יושבי ביתך, עוד יללוך סלה. אשרי העם שככה לו, אשרי העם שאדוני אלוהיו. Let's read responsively Psalm 145. Always I will extol you, my sovereign God, and praise your name forever. Beginning each and every day with praise, I will extol your name forever. Cause us to see your greatness is beyond us, eternal one, forever to be praised. Declaring your works to teach generation, we bear witness to your mighty acts. Even as they speak of your splendor, so I will meditate on your wonderful deeds. For as they tell of your awesome might, so I will recount your greatness. Great is your goodness, with which I celebrate as they sing of your righteousness. Holding us in your grace and compassion, you are patient and abounding in love. In your goodness, eternal God, you have mercy on all your creatures. Joyfully your work shall thank you, and your faithful ones shall praise you. Knowing how great is your majesty, they proclaim your might. Let all humanity perceive your power and the glorious splendor of your redemption. Mighty is your rule and everlasting. Your reign endures in all generations. O God, you support the falling and raise up all who are bowed down. Pleading, all look in hope to you, and you give them their food in due season. Quietly you open your hand and satisfy the needs of every living creature. Righteous are you in all your ways and loving in all your deeds. So near are you to all who call upon you, to all who call upon you in truth. The desire of those who revere you, you fulfill. You hear their cry and help them. Unceasingly our lips shall sing God's praise. So may all creatures laud God's holy name. ואנחנו נברך יה מעתה ועד עולם. Hallelujah. We turn to page 135. Please stand. 135. ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו, האל המלך הקדוש והקדוש בשמיים ובארץ. כי לך נאי אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואימותינו, שיר ושבחה, הלל וזמרה, ברכות והודאות מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בשירי זמרה. ברכו את אדוני המבורר. ברוך אדוני המבורר לעולם ועד. Please be seated. We're on page 136. We praise you, Eternal One, our God, sovereign of the universe, maker of light and creator of darkness, author of peace and creator of all things. In your mercy you give light to the earth and all who live on it, and in your goodness you renew creation, continually day by day. How manifold are your works, O God, with wisdom have you made them all. The world is full of your creations. Your handiwork proclaims your praise, the radiant stars bear witness to your glory. We praise you, O God, creator of light. So I just got stuck on one sentence today. Maker of light and creator of darkness. And we were earlier talking about November, which is the time of the year where the days are so short. And it's a way to remind ourselves that God is in light, but God is also in the darkness, so we should never lose any hope. Let's read together the next blessing. Great is your love for us, eternal God, and abundant your compassion. Our ancestors trusted in you, and you taught them the laws of life. So be gracious to us and teach us. Incline our hearts to hear your words, to know and understand, to learn and teach, and with love to uphold the truth of your Torah. Enlighten us with your teaching, make us faithful to your commandments, and wholehearted in the love and awe of your name. For in love you summon us to serve you and proclaim your unity. We praise you, O God. In love you have called your people Israel to serve you. Please stand. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Leolam Vaed Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavecha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha vehayu hadvarim haele asher anochi metzavera hayom al levavecha veshnantam levanecha vedibarta bam beshivtecha beveitecha uvelechtecha vaderech uveshorbecha uvekumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha vehayu letotafot beineinecha וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אמת. Please be seated. Good and beautiful and true, sound, established and enduring are these words now and forever. True it is, eternal God, that you are sovereign God and Redeemer, as you are the God and Redeemer of ancestors. You are our Maker, the rock of our salvation. We have known you always as our helper and our liberator. There is no God but you. Truly you are first and you are last. We have no Redeemer but you. You redeemed us from Egypt and freed us from the house of bondage. Then, with great joy, Moses, Miriam, and all Israel together sang to you this song. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef ele, nora tehilot osef ele. A new song, the redeemed sung to your name at the shore of the sea. With one accord they gave thanks and proclaimed your sovereignty. Adonai yimlo leolam va'ed, Sur Israel, Kuma bezrat Israel, Goaleinu Adonai, Tzevaot Shemo, Kedosh Israel, Baruch Ata Adonai, Gal Israel, Gal Israel, Israel. On page 140, please stand. Adonai sefatai tiftach, ufi yagid tehilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips, but my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch Ata Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'emoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכה חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיים את אימת הרב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מזריח השמש ומוריד הטל. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיים מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיע ישועה, ונאמנת על יחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים. We sanctify your name on earth as in the prophet's vision. The hosts of heaven sing your praise above, for so it is written, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Meloch ol haaretz, Kevodo, Kevodo male olam, Baruch Kevod Adonai, ממקומו. ממקומך מלכנו תופיע ותמלוך עלינו, כי אנחנו מחכים לך. ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש. ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גול לך. ושברך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ושברך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. Please be seated. You inspired our ancestors to hallow this day for your service. When upon its coming we pause to contemplate our life, we learn anew that we do not live by bread alone, but also by the spiritual nourishment we receive when we open ourselves to your influence. We thank you for the Sabbath day and for the opportunity it offers to enhance the quality of our lives. We thank you for its joy and for its peace. May our worship help us to take into our hearts its message of holiness and consecrate all our days by devotion to what is true, beautiful, and good. ישמחו במלכותך, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג. המקדשי שביעי, כולם ישמעו ותנתנגו מטובך. והשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו. חמדת ימים אותו קראת, זכר למעשה וראשית. Our God and God of ancestors, may our rest on this day be pleasing in your sight. Sanctify us by your commandments and make us loyal to your teaching. Satisfy us with your goodness, gladden us with your salvation, and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, eternal one, let the holiness of your Sabbath enter our hearts. And may all Israel who hallow your name be exalted by its peace. We praise you, O God, for the holiness of the Sabbath. Eternal God, be gracious to people Israel, and in your love accept their prayers. May our worship now and always be acceptable in your sight. We praise you, O God, whom alone we worship in reverence. Let's read together. We give thanks that you, Eternal One, are our God, as you were the God of ancestors. You are the rock of our life, the power that shields us in every age. We thank and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your keeping, for the signs of your presence we encounter every day, and for your wondrous gifts at all times, morning, noon, and night. We praise you, O God, source of goodness, to whom our thanks are due. שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך, בכינו אבינו כולנו כאחד. באור פניך, כי באור פניך נתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו. שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך. תורת חיים ואהבת חסד וצדקה וברכה, ורחמים וחיים ושלום, ורחמים וחיים ושלום. שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל ואת כל העמים בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים, רחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל ישראל עמך. We praise you, O God, the source of peace. And let's take now a few moments for ourselves. Let me feel your loving kindness in the morning, for in you I trust. Teach me to do your will, for you are my God. Guide me in your truth and teach me, God of my salvation and my constant hope. Send out your light and your truth. Let them lead me, let them bring me to your holy mountain, to your dwelling place. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a willing spirit within me. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל בני אדם. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל בני אדם. So I'd like to welcome Deborah, Anna, Russell, Helen, Flora, Maxine, and Ajik. Thank you for joining us online. And of course, as I say, usually I don't have access to all the names and to all the people who have joined us. So thank you for joining us for this Safeguarding Shabbat. So for this Safeguarding Shabbat, which falls really in a very appropriate manner in a story that would raise loads of questions about safeguarding, and was also one of the options for the Haftarah, which also raised lots of questions safeguarding. And we had a very interesting conversation yesterday. We started the conversation at Sandra and Howard Weber's home, starting to talk about what safeguarding means for us as a community. So of course it's a legal requirement, but there's also Jewish values that underlie, the notion of safeguarding, because this is what we want to make with Keles. We want to make a community where everyone matters and where everyone is safe. So I will leave you after the Torah service, Sarah. So thank you for coming. So Sarah is a nationwide renowned specialist in safeguarding. So you published 2 books on the topic. So Yeah, but it's a great achievement. So we're very lucky to have you with us. So you can speak from a place of knowledge and skills. So thank you for that. Page 490. 490. הקל את העם, האנשים, הנשים ואתה וגרך אשר בשעריך, למען ישמעו ולמען ילמדו ויראו את אדוני אלוהיכם, ושמרו לעשות את כל דברי התורה הזאת, ובניהם אשר לא ידעו ישמעו ולמדו ליראה את אדוני אלוהיכם. So can I have ark openers? Can I have someone to take the scroll out of the ark? Philip, I'm going to ask you to take the scroll out of the ark. Can I ask Dominique and I can't remember your name? Satya. So please, you can open the ark and help with the undressing of the scrolls. So before I go to, can I have, after I read, I've got the text. Rabbi Janet, do you want to read if I give it to you before?
Depends on what it is.
It's 2 Kings, the story of Elisha and the Shunammite woman and her son. It's not about, oh, Israel, you don't follow. I'm going to read you the text. No, it's yeah. Okay. And Rebecca, I'd like to invite you for another today. Okay? Everything is sorted. Brilliant. Please stand. ויאר עינינו בתורתך ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך ויחד לבבנו להרע ולריחה את שמך ולא נבוש ולא ניכלם ולא תורתך לבבך עיניך ויחד לבבינו לאהבה וליראה את שמך. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. אחד אלוהינו גדול אדוננו קדוש שמו, גדלו לאדוני איתי ונרוממה שמו יחדיו. Please be seated. I need you, Vince. פרץ והנצח והאות, כי כל בשמיים ובארץ, כי כל בשמיים ובארץ. לך אדוני הממלכה ימים תעשה לכל דרוש. Thank you. Brilliant. Thank you. Please be seated. Yeah, thank you. Right. Are you happy to do the gabbai when I call you? Yeah, Dominique. Yes. Yeah. So, Parashat Vayera is. I mean, in Torah, you know that the Torah portions, the book of Genesis, are, are quite significant because there are 51 chapters, 50 chapters, sorry, and there's lots of things happening in each of these Torah portions. So in agreement, conjunction with Sarah, we've decided to read this passage that you've heard a couple of months ago, which is the Akedat Yitzhak, the binding of Isaac. So do you want me to read the translation first? Because probably we have forgotten everything that happened in this Torah portion since Rosh Hashanah. So remember, on Rosh Hashanah we have a choice between two texts. And I promised that next year I will use the other one, which is about Hagar and Ishmael, which is also very rich in terms of learning. So Vayihi achar advarim ha'ele, sometimes after these things, God put Abraham to the test. God said to him, Abraham, and he answered, Hineni, here I am. And God said, take your son, your favorite one, Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering, olah, on one of the heights that I will point to you. So early in the morning, Abraham saddled his donkey and took with him 2 of his servants and his son Isaac. He split the wood for the burnt offering, and he set out of the place of which God had told him. On the 3rd day, Abraham looked up and saw the place from afar. Then Abraham said to his servants, you stay here with the donkey. The boy and I will go up there. We will worship and we will return to you. Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and put it on his son Isaac. He himself took the firestone and the knife, and the two walked off together. Then Isaac said to his father Abraham, Father. And Abraham answered, yes, my son. And Isaac said, here are the firestones and the wood, but where is the sheep for the burnt offering? Abraham said, God will see to the sheep for the burnt offering, my son. And the 2 of them walked on together. They arrived at the place of which God had told him. Abraham built an altar there. He laid out the wood. He bound his son Isaac. He laid him on the altar on top of the wood. And Abraham picked up the knife to slay his son. Then an angel of the Eternal called to him from heaven, Abraham, Abraham. And he answered, yes, here I am. And the angel said, do not raise your hand against the boy or do anything to him, for now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your son, your favorite one, from me. When Abraham looked up, his eye fell upon a ram caught in the thicket by its horns. So Abraham went and took the ram and offered it as a burnt offering in place of his son. And Abraham named this site Adonai Yireh, which means, on the Mount of the Eternal, there is a vision. The angel of the Eternal called to Abraham a second time from heaven and said, by myself I swear, the Eternal declares, because you have done this and have not withheld your son, your favorite one, I will bestow my blessing upon you and make your descendants as numerous as the stars of heaven and the sands on the seashore. And your descendants shall seize the gates of their foes. All the nations of the earth shall bless themselves by your descendants, because you have obeyed my commandments. Abraham then returned to his servants. We don't know where Isaac is going, which is very interesting. And they departed together for Beersheba. And Abraham stayed in Beersheba. So I'm not going to make any comment on the text itself, because I know that Sarah has prepared something. But if you remember what we said on Rosh Hashanah, this is this kind of text in Torah that has many, many interpretations, and we are going to hear one today in the light of something very important. So, Rivka bat David. Wow. Tahamod לקרוא בתורה רבקה בת דוד. I've got the blessing here, if you can go there.
Baruch Adonai Hamavach.
Baruch Adonai Hamavach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamavach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amin v'natan lanu et toratu. Baruch atah Adonai noten chaturah.
Amen. Vayehi אחר הדברים האלה והאלוהים נישא את אברהם ויאמר אליו אברהם, ויאמר הנני, ויאמר, ויאמר, it's a different one, קח נא את בנך, את ירידך, אשר אהבת את יצחק, ולך לך אל ארץ המוריה, והעלהו שם לעולה, על אחד ירים אשר אומר אליך. וישכם אברהם בבוקר, ויחבוש את חמורו, ויקח את שני נעריו איתו, ואת יצחק בנו, ויבקע עולה, ויקום וילך אל המקום אשר אמר לו האלוהים. ביום השלישי ויישא אברהם את עיניו, וירא את המקום מרחוק. ויאמר אברהם אל נעריו, שבו לכם פה עמד חמור, ואני והנהר נלכו עד כה, ונשתחווה ונשובה עליכם. ויקח אברהם את עצי העולה, וישם על יצחק בנו, ויקר בידו את האש ואת המאכלת, וילכו שניהם יחדיו. ויאמר יצחק אל אברהם אביו, ויאמר אבי, ויאמר הנני בני, ויאמר הנה האש והעצים, והיעשה לעולה. ויאמר אברהם אלוהים, יכלו עשה לעולה בני. וילכו שניהם יחדיו, ויבוא אל המקום אשר אמר לו האלוהים, ויבן שם אברהם את המזבח, ויערוך את העצים, ויעקוד את יצחק בנו, וישם אותו על המזבח ממעל העצים. וישלח אברהם את ידו, ויקח את המאכלת לשרוך את בנו. ויקרא אליו מלאך אדוני מן השמיים, ויאמר אברהם, אברהם, ויאמר הנני, ויאמר אל תשלח ידך אל הנהר, ואל תעש לו מהומה, כי אתה ידעתי, כי ירא אלוהים אתה, ולא חשכת את בנך, את ירידך ממני. ויישא אברהם את עיניו, וירא והנה העיל אחר נחזר בסבך בקרנוב. וילך אברהם ויקח את העיל, ויעלהו לעולה תחת בנו. ויקרא אברהם שם המקום ההוא אדוני יחיה, אשר יהמך היום, באח אדוני יחיה. ויקרא, ויקרא מלאך אדוני אל אברהם שנית מן השמיים, ויאמר בי נשבעתי נאום אדוני, כי הענש אשר עשית את הדבר הזה, ולא חשרת את בנך את ירידך, כי ברך אברך, והרבה הרבה את זכרך ככוכבי השמיים, וכחול אשר על שפת הים, ויחש זרעך את שער אויביו, ויתברכו בזרעך כל גויי הארץ, עקב אשר שמעת בקולי, וישב אברהם אל נעריו, ויקומו וילכו יחדיו באר שבע, וישב אברהם אל באר שבע.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam natah b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
אמן. מי שברך אמותינו שרה, רבקה, רחל ולאה, הוא יברא את רבקה בת דוד שעלתה לכבוד המקום ולכבוד השבת. הקדוש ברוך הוא יברך אותה ואת כל משפחתה, וישרה ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיה עם כל ישראל אחיה ואחיותיה, ונאמר אמן. May the one who blessed our ancestors Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel and Leah bless Rebecca, who has come up to the Torah in honor of God and of the Sabbath. May the Holy One ever to be praised bless her and her family and prosper her in all that she undertakes, together with all her sisters and brothers of the house of Israel. And let us say Amen. Yasher Koach.
Thank you.
Okay, so can I have a strong person? I'm not allowed to say a strong man anymore, because women can be very strong as well. So can I have a strong person to hold the scroll and to go and sit over there? Yeah? Please stand. And Saskia and Dominique, you will help with dressing the scroll. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו ונשתחוו להקודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להקודשו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו. Please be seated. So I'm going to ask now Rabbi Janet to come up for the Haftarah, and which is another case of safeguarding in the Bible, this one. Do you want to? Yeah, please come here.
I'm not so sure about that, but never mind.
Yeah. Question about safeguarding.
I am just going to start by saying it really is an honor to be asked to read the Haftarah. My hesitancy is that often I'm not as keen about the traditional Haftarot as other ways of linking some of the prophetic readings to our Torah section for the day, which could be maybe more meaningful for us today. The clear link on this one, as you'll see, is about women who want a child. And of course, that's not the section of today's Torah portion that we read, because we read on a triennial cycle. We haven't read the entire portion. So that's how it links and why it was originally chosen to be the Haftarah for today. And I'm going to let René, René obviously has some idea of why this is, what questions this raises as well. You can judge for yourself. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzor kol haolamim tzadik b'chol hadorot hayal hane'eman v'yomer v'yoseh u'daber u'mkayem shekol devarav emet v'tzedek. This is 2 Kings 4, verses 8 to 37. One day, Elisha visited Shunem. A wealthy woman lived there, and she urged him to have a meal. And whenever he passed by, he would stop there for a meal. Once she called to her husband, "I am sure it is a holy man of God who comes this way regularly. Let us make a small enclosed upper chamber and place a bed, a table, a chair, and a lampstand there for him, so that he can stop there whenever he comes to us." One day he came there. He retired to the upper chamber and lay down there. He said to his servant Gehazi, "Call that Shunammite woman." He called her, and she stood before him. He said to him, that's to his servant, "Tell her, you've gone to all this trouble for us. What can we do for you? Can we speak in your behalf to the king or to the army commander?" She replied, "I live among my own people." "What then can be done for her?" he asked. "The fact is," said Gehazi, "she has no son, and her husband is old." "Call her," he said. He called her, and she stood in the doorway. And Elisha said, "At this season next year you will be embracing a son." She replied, "Please, my lord, man of God, do not delude your maidservant." The woman conceived and bore a son at the same season the following year, as Elisha had assured her. The child grew up. One day he went out to his father among the reapers. Suddenly he cried to his father, "Oh, my head, my head." He said to his servant, "Carry him to his mother." The servant picked him up and brought him to the mother. And the child sat on her lap until noon, and he died. She took him up and laid him on the bed of the man of God, and left him and closed the door. Then she called to her husband, "Please, send me one of the servants and one of the she-donkeys, so I can hurry to the man of God and back." But he said, "Where are you going to him today? It is neither new moon nor Shabbat." And she answered, "It's all right." She had the ass saddled and said to her servant, "Urge the beast on. See that I don't slow down unless I tell you." She went on until she came to the man of God on Mount Carmel. When the man of God saw her from afar, he said to his servant Gehazi, "There is that Shunammite woman. Go, hurry toward her, and ask her, 'How are you? How is your husband? How is the child?'" "We are well," she replied. But when she came up to the man of God on the mountain, she clasped his feet. Gehazi stepped forward to push her away, but the man of God said, "Let her alone, for she is in bitter distress, and the Eternal has hidden it from me and has not told me." Then she said, "Did I ask my lord for a son? Didn't I say, 'Don't mislead me'?" He said to Gehazi, "Tie up your skirts, take my staff in your hand, and go. If you meet anyone, do not greet him, and if anyone greets you, do not answer him, and place my staff on the face of the boy." But the boy's mother said, "As the Eternal lives and as you live, I will not leave you." So he arose and followed her. Gehazi had gone on before them and had placed his staff on the boy's face, but there was no sound or response. He turned back to meet him and told him, "The boy is not awakened." Elisha came into the house, and there was the boy, laid out dead on his couch. He went in, shut the door behind the two of them, and prayed to the Eternal. Then he mounted the bed and placed himself over the child. He put his mouth on its mouth his eyes on its eyes, and his hands on its hands, and as he bent over it. And the body of the child became warm. He stepped down, walked once up and down the room, then mounted and bent over him. Thereupon the boy sneezed 7 times, and the boy opened his eyes. Elisha called Gehazi and said, "Call the Shunammite woman." And he called her. When she came to him, he said, "Pick up your son." She came and fell at his feet and bowed low to the ground. Then she picked up her son and left. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, tzur kol haolamim, tzadik b'chol hadarot, ha'el ha'ne'aman ha'omer ve'oseh, daber u'mkayem, shechol devarav emet v'tzedek, al ha'torah v'al ha'avodah v'al ha'nevi'im v'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh, שנתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו, לקדושה ולמנוחה, לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל, אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך, ומברכים אותך, יתברך שמך בפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת.
Amen. Thank you. Please stand. We're on page 493. Eternal God, whose dominion embraces the universe, we ask your blessing for our sovereign King Charles and all the royal family, for those who govern our country and all who influence the quality of its national life. Make them conscious of their responsibility and teach them to exercise it in accordance with your will. May we all help to fashion in this country a society that excels in freedom and justice, tolerance and compassion, so that it may be a force for righteousness and peace in the life of humanity. May the one who blessed our ancestors bless all our brothers and sisters of the house of Israel who enter synagogues to pray and to give aid to those in need. May the Holy One, to whom all praise is due, hear their prayers and help them to fulfill their aspiration for good. Eternal God, our rock and redeemer, grant blessing to the state of Israel, created to fulfill an age-old dream and to be a haven for the oppressed. Inspire its leaders and citizens with faithfulness to the aims of its founders, to develop the land for the benefit of all its inhabitants, and to implement the prophetic ideals of liberty and justice. May they live in harmony with one another and in peace with their neighbors, and cause to come true once more the ancient vision that out of Zion shall go forth Torah and the word of God from Jerusalem. Yehallelu et Shem Adonai ki nisgar shemo levado. הודו על ארץ ושמיים וירם קרן לעמו תהילה לכל חסידיו לפני עם קרובו הללויה הללויה. On page 496, Ashivenu Adonai Elecha Venashuva Kadesh Yameinu Kekedem Kadesh Yameinu Thank you. Thank you. Where are you? You're here. Okay. Do you want to come on the bima? Huh? I'm going to turn the microphone to her. Huh? Ah.
With me, and then I can come up.
Shabbat shalom. I want to try and do, in very short time, three things. First, I want to just explain why we have got a safeguarding Shabbat. We have been, as a community, on a journey over many years with our safeguarding to so we're now heading to what I hope is a place where we can place safeguarding as a golden thread running through our community with a shared understanding of that. I've been working with council, particularly with the support of Tina, Vince, Louisa, Carolyn, René, Rebecca, to put together a safeguarding policy which makes us legally compliant. We have, as a community, not only moral responsibilities as humans, as Jews, towards safeguarding, but we also have legal responsibilities, and we need to be clear about those. Last night, so that's sort of the first thing, and we now have to say we have officers, for lack of a better word, I don't think it's the right word. We have leaders within the community who will take responsibility for safeguarding. Myself and Carolyn will lead for children. Vince and René will lead for adult safeguarding. The split is because they come under different legislative frameworks. And so we start, so that is sort of one side, is getting that legal compliance. If you want to read our safeguarding policy, it is now, I think, on our website. Craig, it's on our website?
Rebecca?
It will be on our website.
It will be.
48 hours.
From Monday, if you would like to read our safeguarding policy, it will be on our website. But also, that's sort of only half of what we're doing, or a portion. The more important portion is what we as a community see and feel and understand by safeguarding. The pictures from the children are going to become relevant in a minute, but we talked last night with Sandra and Carol about what safeguarding meant for us as a community. Thank you. I've been brought a microphone. I'm aware I can make myself heard in the room. I can't necessarily make myself heard online. And we talked last night about this being part of everything we do. What was really interesting, talking to the children this morning, they were absolutely clear one of our key safeguarding things that we do to keep ourselves safe is about security. And they could absolutely spot that the security and who you let into your, as they put it, they related it to their homes. Who you let into your home, and they said, this is one of them actually said, this is our synagogue home is key to keeping it safe. And that's why we have security. Which I thought was absolutely, I should actually start. One of the children said to us, what is safeguarding? It's guarding people safely. It's looking after people, but without putting yourself into danger. Which I thought was fascinating. Actually, I'm starting with the children. It's stopping people being hurt without making it worse. They also were very clear it's about calling out and not being a bystander. And that understanding our actions are linked. Hearing people's views and listening to them. There. They also talked about talking to adults if they felt they had anything that was threatening to them. They also, the children talked, the adults did not, about our duties online. And we are online a lot and are keeping that safe. And they also talked about when people are deliberately unkind to each other, or when they actually wind each other up, or say things. The children talked about banter and the risk to us when people say things that the person who is saying it portrays as a joke, but does it to hurt. And I thought that was interesting. Last night we talked again about that safeguarding in that small bit of protecting from harm. And we talked about deliberate harm, inadvertent harm. The reason we need, our rules of safeguarding on, we haven't, where we put the wires, that Rebecca was removing the microphone and looking where the wires are. That's all about our safeguarding. It's keeping ourselves safe, physically as well as emotionally. It's about deliberate, and it may be deliberate harm, it may be inadvertent harm. And both the person who is receiving the harm may well not recognise it as harm. We had a lot of talk about that, talked about it being different in different cultures, but us being bound by both British law and by human rights legislation. And also sometimes the person who's doing the harm may not recognise. We talked about behaviours becoming normalised, and sometimes we need to look with fresh eyes at what we're doing, reconsider to make sure that we are safeguarding our whole community. Talked about safe places, boundaries and rules. We talked about embedding it in our good practice and having trusted people who can support all our community, adults and children, and the issues of power imbalance, which we will talk about in a moment, related to the Torah portion, and about it being more than physical abuse, it being everybody's responsibility, and the fact we don't work alone. We work within the legal framework and protections set up within Surrey, because the building is in Surrey. We also talked about the support we have from Liberal Judaism, and 31/8, who is an organisation we have subscribed to, who supports safeguarding in faith communities. 31/8 is the community. I don't know. I would. It's a biblical reference. Thank you to my yeah. And I think one of the things is you will see we've got posters cut that Rebecca, who's just vanished.
No, I'm in.
I
was there, now I'm here. It's my turn.
I can't. Rebecca has designed showing our safeguard, to remind people who our safeguarding leads are, but also to remind us that the safeguarding, it puts the arms figuratively around our community. It's about us all and keeping us all safe. So I hope that will give us food for thought. We're starting on a route. This is not finished and sorted. Our policy will be reviewed in 6 months. We already have had talk about a way of doing anonymous reporting. There was something else the children brought up, which will need to go into our review. Also, I'm hoping that Rebecca, because she has the skills and I do not, that we are going to be able to take these comments and create a vision for us, safeguarding for our community, which we can then take forward. So that was the second bit of what I wanted to say. But will it make it easier, Craig, if I move back up here again? Yes. The children started. This represents the story. I'm aware I call the flip chart, and represents the story of Isaac. Children draw better than I do. So this is thinking about the people involved. And when I realised that we were going to have our safeguarding Shabbat this week, we felt, yes, we've absolutely got the perfect portion. So we have Abraham, we have Isaac, we have the two servants, and we have the person who's completely silent in the story, Sarah. And I was very aware, there are many ways of looking at this story. And I am not a rabbi, I'm not a biblical scholar. But I thought, I'm always struck when we talk about grooming, particularly radicalisation online. Abraham, that's really quite worrying. He's got this voice he's hearing, the person he doesn't know, who's saying to him, go and harm your son.
So we've got a safeguarding concern for this man. We need to be calling out, we need to be challenging his thinking. And when we work in the PREVENT strategy, which is the legal framework for working with people who are radicalised, it is about challenging and thinking and what is the basis. I think everybody would be quite clear there is a significant safeguarding risk to Isaac. I think there's the threat of physical harm. I think there's considerable emotional abuse. Being taken and acting out the story with the children was fascinating this morning. We only had a very small group. But the little boy who was acting the role of Isaac, when he went, he felt, we said, under threat, somebody's going to sacrifice him. His immediate response was to go and hug the boy who was acting the role of Abraham. Because under threat, he would go to his safe person. But in this story, his safe person is not his safe person. And there's a very interesting message about that. So we've got safeguarding concerns for all those people. And then we have the other people in the story. The servants. They set off on this peculiar journey that takes them 3 days. They get left at the bottom of the mountain as Abraham goes off with his son for this sacrifice. There's clearly something not right. Isaac recognises it because he says, where is the sacrifice? They got the fire stone, they have the wood, they have the knife. They do not have the sacrifice. What was the role of those servants? What should have been their role? They were the bystanders. They had now one, but they did not call out. And we have to recognise that is they could have been the people who called out to challenge Abraham, to call out and protect Isaac. And we all can be aware, and the children could tell us, why did they not? They were the servants. It's recognising the imbalance of power. And so often, it is hard to be a bystander, and it's very hard to call out, and very often, we don't have that. It's very difficult because of that imbalance of power. And then finally, we get the silent, the person whose voice we never hear in this story, Sarah. And where was the balance of power in that relationship? I will leave that one for you to think on.
She dies in the following portion.
Yes, there are lots and lots of questions. I'm going to finish with a prayer written by Rabbi Chaim Stern, which we read, well, we don't read because it's in the silent reflections from the additional service on Yom Kippur. And I wanted just to finish with, for the sin of silence, for the sin of indifference, for secret complicity of the neutral, for the closing of borders, for the washing of hands, for the crime of indifference, for the sin of silence, for all that is done, for all that is not done. Let there be no forgetfulness before the throne of glory. Let there be remembrance within the human heart, and let there be forgiveness. For when your children, O God, may know reconciliation. And I think for us as a community, we need to not stand silent. We need to share, we need to call out, and we need to challenge, not so that we make sure that all of us within our community know that they are loved, they're welcomed, they're cared for and kept safe. And I think the children protecting, guarding safely is what we need to aspire to. I'm going to be very cheeky and suggest we have a different song at the end, if that's okay, which will come back and maybe revisit these themes. If that's okay, René. Thank you very much indeed.
not needed to happen.
I would like to present this on behalf of the council, Sarah, because we are so lucky to have your expertise guiding us in this area, and you are expert, and that was just brilliant. And this is just a token of our appreciation. Thank you. It's kind of big and blousy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I don't put a touch microphone because I get nervous with them. I'll get that out of me. Oh, yes.
Thank you, Sarah. That was brilliant. Like yesterday, brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much. So we're going to the Kaddish now. And just wanted to remember Dominique buried her mother this week, Denise Passot. So we remember your mother. Jamie Zadeh will be buried on Thursday, the 1st of December at Putney. And on this Shabbat, we remember Frank Kelly, the father of Simo Kelly, father-in-law of Liz and grandfather of Ethan and Joshua. Remember Abraham de Wolf, the grandfather of Nora Zimmerman. And remember Charles Warren, the father of Tammy Rich and grandfather of Tom, Emma, Joe, and Claire. And yesterday we marked the 103rd anniversary since the end of the First World War. So we also remember all those who lost their lives during 104, yes, 4.
It's Rabbi Sachs is outside as well.
Is it Rabbi Sachs is outside? Okay. So Zichronam Livracha, may their memory be a blessing. Please stand and we say the Kaddish together on page 524. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba, be'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'vyomechon ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעלם לעלמי עלמיה, יתפרר וישתבר ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה על שמי לקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ביחתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל בני אדם ואמרו אמן. Please be seated. So next Shabbat is
Not to sneeze there, man.
no. Is it? It might be this, yeah. Sometimes it's just fat.
It is sometimes, yeah.
Yes, it was just fat. Okay. We need to change the socket, I think. Sometimes it's just fat. That's all I know. Next Shabbat is Interfaith Shabbat, and Sandra Weber will lead a service on Shabbat morning, and we have a visit from the Dialogue Society. They're coming as well.
And bringing food.
And they're bringing food, yes, so it's always a...
For those people who want to know more about safeguarding, we have 2 sessions of safeguarding training, one at 9:30, which is vaguely aimed at the parents of 18 but anybody is welcome, and then one at the end of the service aimed at maintaining staff. And again, if other people would like to join us, you're very welcome.
Okay, so 2 sessions of safeguarding next week, one at 9:30 and one after the service. Right, okay. So what's the special song you wanted for tonight? Today. I'm ready to go to bed. Oh, yes.
Hello, my name is Isaac. I'm 9 years old and I live with my dad and my mum, and my favorite food is jacket potatoes. We have a goat and my hobbies include collecting small stones, and this is what I did on my holidays. So I'm sitting on the top of a mountain all tied up, and I'm waiting for my father to kill me as a sacrifice. Really thought today would be a picnic, literally. We packed bread and everything. You see, my dad has this friend who talks to him, and he told my father to kill me as a sacrifice, and Dad's pretty easily influenced, it turns out. He got on board surprisingly quickly. But just before my father could kill me, the same friend changed his mind and said to release me, which was nice of him. He slaughtered a ram instead, which, although preferable, was still quite a traumatic experience for a 9-year-old. I'm still alive and that's really great, but the way down the mountain with Dad was quite awkward. He was all covered in ram's blood, and we weren't addressing that moments ago. I was sitting on the top of a mountain all tied up, waiting for my father to kill me as a sacrifice. So I opened my mouth and I said to Dad, are we going to keep this a secret? I really don't think you can sell this story as something that paints you in a good light at all. I know you didn't kill me, but really you still look like quite a villain regardless. Dad said, what happened there on top of the mountain, I'm going to use as a narrative to form the basis of the big 3 monotheistic religions which will dominate history for millennia. Dad, that's great, but I hope it doesn't take thousands of years for everyone to realize that what just happened was pretty toxic behavior and not really how you should raise your children. Cause I was sitting on the top of a mountain all tied up, waiting for my father to kill me as a sacrifice. And Dad said, Isaac, do you really think this world would blindly begin to sleepwalk into some kind of toxic Armageddon? Because I suspect not.
Thank you. So please stand for one last time. Eternal God, be with us as you were with our ancestors. Never leave us or forsake us. Incline our hearts towards you and lead us in your way. And let us say, Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom to you. Come online, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.